have I got a project for you guys today. Been doing a lot of thinking about the channel, where I'm going with it, what's going on with it, and I want to start making it a little bit more scheduled. Not a lot more, a little bit more. So every Tuesday from this day forth, bar something happens, like, you know, Danielle has a baby, I'm going to be doing tutorials on Tuesdays. So Tuesday tutorial day. A fun project, something everybody needs in their shop or garage. Bar clamps. So let's get started. So these right here are the shop-made bar clamps I'm talking about. Right there. See how fancy they are? I'm gonna show you how to use them, and then I'll show you how to make them. They work off of a pivot point. So in this position, there's less space than there is over here. This is tighter. But if you put a piece in here and you try and tighten it down, that's going to want to roll that piece. So to alleviate that, you make these little spacers that go here. And to set this jig up, you just put your piece in there with your tails facing towards you, and then find the closest hole that they'll fit in. And now these spacers or these braces are set off at an offset. So one side is 3/4 of an inch, the other side is like 1 1/8 inches. That way, if I need more room, I can either turn them this way if I need less room, or I can turn them that way if I need to fill up a gap. So then what you want to do is find the closest hole that they will fit in. Right there, that's the one. With your tailstock as close to you as possible.
Like so?
Now, because these are made out of wood, and you can get glue underneath there, if you want to, just take some wax paper and put some wax paper underneath these. And then you get your boards in there where they belong. Make sure your spacers are in here. And then just simply give that a good pull. And that tightens it right down. Just like that. And then those guys are in there really good. So those are this really handy little shop project. They don't take very long to build. I built these 4 this morning in about 2 hours. And they're really quite handy. Obviously, they're not a replacement for store-made clamps or the big iron clamps. With those, you can get a lot more pressure than you can. But if that's not an option for you, if you can't afford them, or you don't know, or you don't have access to them, this is a great project. So let's get started. All right, we got the elevator music. That way you don't have to listen to just my voice. I took a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood and I ripped down 8 pieces that were 2.5 inches long and roughly 33 inches. Wait, 2.5 inches wide and 33 inches long. And then I glued them up. I just glued 2 pieces together, so I ended up with 4 pieces in the end. That made it about 1 inch thick. And then after the glue set, I just trimmed up both sides with finished width of 2¼ inches. And then I cut them all to 32 inches long. After I did that, I chamfered the edges. I just put a 45-degree bit in my router table and did a 1/8 chamfer around all the edges just to make it nice and clean. And then I squared them up and marked lines every 1.5 inches down all 4 pieces until there was about 8 inches left. And then I went and drilled all the holes. I drilled them 1 3/8 inches deep. And I'm using a 3/8 bit. Everything on this is all 3/8 dowels. And here I just made a template, and I'm marking out for the tail, or the part that moves that puts the pressure on. And then I found my center and put a mark 3/8 off center of that center point, and then I drilled a 3/8 or chamfered them first, and just to clean them up again. And then I drilled a 3/8 hole on that mark, that off-center mark. Then I needed to make some dowels, so I cut a bunch of stock. I used the hardwood. This is Brazilian cherry because it's the hardest thing I had in the shop. And then I made some dowels using my super easy dowel making jig. I did it in another video. I'll put a link below. It's really a great way to make dowels. And then I cut the dowels so they stick 1.25 inches out of each side of the tailstock there, or the pressure part. And I didn't glue them. I just ran a screw in case they broke or I needed to change them out. I could always just pull the screw out and change them later. So, and then for the tails, the braces or the tails, I made some blocks that were 3.5 or 3 inches by 1 3/4 inches. And again, this is all just 2 pieces of 1/2 inch glued together. And then I marked the centers on those and drilled them. From front to back, I drilled it off center. It's 1 3/4 inches deep, and I put the drill mark on the 3/4 inch line. And then just, you know, same thing, tapered them and then ran some screws in them to hold them in place, so I could change them out if they broke or I needed to. And that's it. That's all I did. Then I assembled everything. I made those little plates off camera. Those are pretty simple. And the whole thing worked out great. They worked wonderful. Very happy with them. Thanks for watching, guys.
What are you guys still doing here? Go build something.